Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm coming in with part 2 of pretty much my check-in for my move to Albania. This time I'm in a cafe, I'm in a coffee shop. I decided to do it here. I know I wanted to do it at the house, but sometimes the way things work out through the day, I end up out before I get a chance to do anything. So I'm out at this cute little coffee shop. It's called The Backyard. It's actually in a co-working space called Cool Lab, which I think is really nice. This would be a nice place to come if you're working from home and you want to get out of the house. You can come here. I haven't really checked out the actual co-working space, but the coffee shop is nice. And you can always sit here and have coffee outside. Right now I'm having a cappuccino. So let's get to the questions. Now, I am going to be doing this in different locations. I'll put it like that. One of the first questions that I got was, how did I convince my mother to move here? And the other part of that question was, what was the cost of moving? I'm going to go over that later because I actually do need to sit down and figure that out, because to be honest, our costs fluctuated a lot. We didn't really have a set amount that we were expecting, but things fluctuated a lot because the simple fact that we had to rebook flights and just all kinds of different things. We had to have Airbnbs that we were not planning on having. I'll have to talk about that later. I think it'd be better to give more of an analysis of that at a later time, to break it down realistically, to really show what we had to deal with. And to also give a cautionary tale is to never expect things to be a certain way, especially when you're coming with a lot of different moving parts. A lot of people, pets, whatever the case is. So as far as my mom, it didn't take a lot to convince my mom. My mom is actually a very adventurous person, was not happy with her life in the States. She's not happy with the current political climate in the States. She felt and feels exactly the way I feel about our home country. So it didn't really take a lot to convince her, but I did have to do research, and we had to do research as far as medical things like that, visas, just the stuff that we're going to have to be prepared to deal with when that time comes. But it didn't take her a lot. I think at first she really didn't believe that we were doing it. So I think that was the thing that was like, once she realized that we were really serious, she was like, I want to go. Not only that, unfortunately, I'm like her person. My brother, he doesn't really do a lot for her. He doesn't really communicate with her very well. I'm not sure what the problem is with that, because at one point he did, but that's another story for another time. But so I'm like her person. So if I were to leave her there, yeah, she has other people. There's my aunts, my other family. I have other family members, but I don't think she would want to have to rely on them for stuff. I don't think that she would trust being able to do that, especially for the younger family members like my generation. They're not all that reliable. And then her brothers and sisters, they're getting older like she is, so they're going through it as well. So they are not really in the position to help her 100%. So I think that was another factor that made her like, I should probably go. So the next thing is not really a question. It's my friend EA. She's just saying how much she admires the fact that I've done this and moved my whole family. And it wasn't just me. I didn't just do all this on my own. We all did this together. We all played our own part in everything. As far as the paperwork and stuff like that, the only paperwork I really had to deal with, honestly, is the pets. As far as visas and things like that, I have not started that process yet, but I do have some of my paperwork. I made sure to get birth certificates apostilled, our marriage license apostilled, background checks apostilled. So I have that stuff, but some of those things I will probably still have to get the background check. I'll have to get that done again because it's only valid for 6 months. And honestly, as far as the visa process, we want to try to apply for residency. And when we get ready to do that, we're not going to be doing that for at least probably into the first 6 months. Because you can stay here as a U.S. citizen on a U.S. passport for up to 1 year. So we're just going to see how we feel when we get around this 6 month mark or whatever. So as far as paperwork is concerned, I haven't really had to go through a process yet for the most part. A lot of this stuff I had to do from home. And that was just as simple as just sending the information in, going to get fingerprints, just things like that. So it hasn't been that tough. The whole logistics was the hardest part. The actual moving, the process, selling everything on Facebook Marketplace, getting rid of stuff, clearing our house, selling our house. So if you want to talk about paperwork, I guess we can talk about that. But that part actually ended up being more easy than we thought, to be honest. and it actually turned out a lot better than we thought, at least better than I thought. So it's been like, I just feel grateful that this is a process that I never thought I would ever be trying to do or be doing. I've learned so many things. They don't always stick because sometimes you're just flying by the seat of your pants. So things I've learned hasn't always stuck in my head, but I've learned so many things in this process. I've looked up and researched so many things I would have never thought I would look up or care about. So I'm grateful for that. So now I'm back at home and I'm on my patio. I'm going to be repotting this basil into more plants. The next question I got was, I would love to know more about the paperwork and how long can we stay before additional paperwork is needed. That's not really a question I can answer at this time. Now, I talked about that before with the last question because right now we're on a tourist visa. And for Albania, for U.S. citizens with a U.S. passport, you can stay here for up to 1 year. And then if you have to go to another country for at least 3 months before you can return and your year starts over. I'm not sure if we're doing that particularly, but we're still deciding. Again, giving ourselves 6 months to see what we want to do. As far as paperwork, if you do get a visa, if you were to come here on like a digital nomad visa or something of that nature, I think that those are only good for a year. I'm pretty sure. But personally, we're trying to get our residency, which is good for 5 years. And then, of course, you'll have to go and do the process again after that 5 years is up. But we definitely want longevity. So if we're going to do it, we want to not have to do it every year because it's almost like the same as just a tourist visa, if that makes any sense. So I hope that answers your question. But once I get more into that process, I will definitely do another video about that because right now I can't really say. But again, I do have my apostille documents, birth certificates, marriage license, background checks. I have that stuff. So when it's time for that process, I have already got some of the stuff that I'll need, and then I'll have to go from there. But we definitely plan to hire a lawyer when we get to that point because you want to know what you're doing. You don't want to be trying to do all these things on your own and wasting your money and your time. So we plan to hire a lawyer. I already have someone in mind. So I've already talked with them at one point. So I have that already set. But right now we're just seeing how this first 6 months goes. And there's one basil plant. The next question is, was all the work worth it? Yes. Absolutely. Again, I want to come back every month and try to do a check-in. It might not be every single month, but I want to come in and do check-ins every month just to check in with how I'm feeling, how things are going. But so far, it is worth it. It was worth all the stuff that we went through to get here. And I actually need to do another video on that whole process, the things that I went through at the airport in Canada with my dogs and with Lufthansa. That's all I'm going to say. At some point, I'm going to do a video. I just almost don't even want to relive that moment because it was a lot. It was a lot for my first time experience, and I was very upset. I don't want to keep talking about it because it's like, if I'm not going to talk about it, the whole process, there's no point in bringing it up. But it was definitely a lot. But from what we've been through so far, it was definitely worth it. It's definitely been worth everything. Every moment I've been here, I feel like it's definitely been worth it. I am very happy with my decision, and everyone in our family is happy with our decision. Every once in a while, I check in with everyone and say, hey, how are you feeling? Do you still like it here? How do you feel about living in Albania? And everyone is happy. At least that's what they're telling me. So we'll see. But it was worth it. The next question is, do you feel like you saved enough money for your move, or do you feel more money was needed to be comfortable? I'm going to answer that almost really simply. More money is always going to be needed. More money is always going to be needed to be comfortable. However, we had different pots of money we were able to pull from. My husband pretty much retired early, and we had savings already. Also, we sold our house, so that was another thing. But we have to be frugal and we have to budget. So now the first month or so here, we've been enjoying ourselves because it's almost like a little vacation, but we've been kind of just living and not really being super frugal, but also not being crazy about it because we still have to be sensible about what we're spending. But we have ourselves on a budget and things like that. We've already put money aside for our utilities and our rent, so that way we don't have to worry about that. Like I said, I feel like more money is always going to be better at the end of the day, no matter what you do. I don't feel insecure about it. I don't feel uncomfortable about what we do have. I feel like we have a solid plan, so I'm happy with that. But I know plans don't always go the way that you want them to go because anything can happen. So you definitely want to make sure you have stuff set aside for emergencies. Like I said, anything can happen. You just never know. But for the most part, I feel solid. I feel comfortable. But I feel like if you're planning on doing anything like this, of course you want to try to make sure you have as much as possible because, like I said, things happen. You never really know what could happen from day to day. Next question is, can you refer your realtor? Of course. I actually did in another video on TikTok, but I can definitely refer him. I will put his information down in the caption of the video because he said that he's fine with me giving his information out, so I can definitely refer him. Now, he's great. He did a lot for us. He helped us out with a lot of things, like a bank account, stuff like that. But as far as availability and what your needs are, I don't know. That's up in the air. You would have to talk to him about that, but I'll definitely put his information down below. Next question is, may I ask what you do for a living? Do you work remote? I do not currently work remote. I did work remote before I came here. My job was not willing to let me work abroad, so I left. I was not going to let my job dictate my life and dictate my future. At the end of the day, the reason why I left the United States is because of all the things that is going on in the United States. And if you are not living under a rock, you know what those things are, especially for people like me. So with that being said, I'm not going to let my job decide, oh no, you can't go, and just stay there and deal with the things that are terrifying me and traumatizing me on a daily basis. I do have a small business that I'm working on. I do other things online for money, affiliates and affiliate linking and stuff like that. Now, I'm working on that stuff. Right now, we're living on our savings and things like that, so we're fine. But those things that are like in works, under development. And there's so many resources out there. There really is. Now, I'm not your 100% resourced, but I would say start doing your research. If you don't have a remote job, try to find one. It's not easy because the job market in the States is trash. And also, I would say personally, even if my job would have let me go and still work there, I didn't want to be tied to my job for my visa, just because they can change their mind at any time. The job market is not good. There's people getting laid off constantly. There's so many things that just is not certain when it comes to employment in the United States. So I definitely did not want that to be tied to my ability to stay out of the country. So, yeah, hopefully, but definitely keep those things in mind if you're interested in moving abroad. Here's my 4 basil plants, all separated. I'm gonna water them and put them somewhere where they're not getting like busted down the sun like I'm getting right now. My phone is like too hot. I'm gonna go ahead and take this inside and we're gonna finish up. But I had to put my phone inside because I can't even look at the questions because it's on my phone. It's that hot out here. You can see how shiny I look and you can see the sun is just beaming on me. But the natural light is just beautiful. It is. I like to use it when I can. But yeah, this is a lot. Whew, I'll see y'all in a second. And of course, it would be nice if I could monetize my YouTube channel. That's what I'm trying to do. But I know I need to be consistent, so a lot of that is my fault. So I'm working on that. But watch my videos, share them, make sure you're subscribed, like them, you know, all that good stuff, so that I can get closer to that goal. My next question is, are attitudes towards Americans changing because of Ivanka Island thing? Do you face any discrimination as a woman? Is age respected or tolerated? I don't know about attitudes towards Americans changing because I feel like people already have their preconceived notions about Americans because of Americans. As far as the Ivanka Island thing, there's been protests going on. It's like right now, I think last night was 40 or 41 days that the protests have been going on. There are people who are out there protesting who are not Albanian, who are from other countries, from the US, from all over the world. They're protesting as well. So I'm sure that Albanians appreciate that. But honestly, I haven't noticed anything substantial. Everybody acts the same way they've been acting since the day we got here. So I'm not 100% sure about that. As a woman facing discrimination, I haven't noticed any discrimination at all, just people staring all the time. For the most part, I haven't had an issue with anyone. People just stare. And then people, don't speak any English. There's that language barrier that can make things a little confusing and frustrating for that person, for the Albanians, as well as for us, but that's something that we have to deal with. We're going to have to learn the language and learn how to communicate the best way that we can. They don't have to accommodate us. We came here. And as far as age is concerned, I feel like it's very respected here. When you get on the bus, you see a lot of the younger people will get up out of their seats and let an older person sit down. I've even had them let me sit down. And I'm like, I know my hair's great, but I ain't that old. But it's be respected here. I wouldn't say tolerated. I definitely think it's respected. My mom, she's older. She's 74, 75, and she's treated with respect. People get and let her sit on the bus. So I think it's definitely respected here. I really do. Next question is, can you talk about safety, daily costs, and medical care? Safety, I have not felt any danger except for when I cross the street. Now, and sometimes just on the sidewalk, and this is because of the cars and the driving. Crossing the street does feel very, very intimidating. You're watching out for cars. You're crossing at the crosswalk, the cars are stopped. You start crossing and here comes a motorcycle or here comes a bike. So the safety is more because of the driving and the cars and the bikes than it is the people actually harming you. I have not felt any type of way about being safe. Everyone has been nice for the most part. You get stares and things like that, but I've never felt unsafe from like an individual person. Daily costs or whatever you want them to be. Daily costs can be anywhere from $5 to $10 to $20 to $100 to $1,000. It just depends on what you buy and what you need. So I would say you can go out every day and not spend anything. You can go out every day and walk around and spend $10. You can go get a brick for 50 cents. Honestly, the more that you're here, you start to learn where things can be more expensive or cheaper. You have to be here to really be able to determine how much money you're going to spend on a daily basis. And again, it has a lot to do with your needs and the way that you spend. If you're coming here with the kind of American consumerism mindset, things like that, you do have to start letting that go. You will spend a lot of money, and we have spent a lot of money because of that. We have to remind ourselves, we have to get out of that mindset because it's definitely something that's embedded in America and Americans. Now, I don't know if you're American, this person that's asking this question, but I'm talking about based on where I'm from, based on America and based on Americans. Medical care, I have went to the dentist, got a cleaning, cost about $34 US. My daughter went to the emergency room for an ear infection. I don't know exactly how much that ended up costing, but I would say anywhere between $200 to $300. Now that was a little pricey, but it was an emergency room, and she had to go back several times to get different treatments to get the ear infection taken care of. So I think that is why, but most of an ear infection in the States, just to go get it checked out and find out if you have an ear infection, is going to cost more than that, let alone the treatment. So emergency care is always going to be expensive, I think, anywhere you go, for the most part. But and my son, he actually is going to the dentist very soon. He went to the dentist down the street, and he had some things going on, and they gave him a filling. They checked him out. They gave him a filling in the 2 teeth that he had issues with. They didn't charge him anything. He has an appointment on Tuesday, and to get the fillings and get everything that he needs to get, it's going to be probably less than $150, maybe $200 for the dentist. These are things that when we were in the States, they told him he needed that cost $1,000. So do with that what you will. That's just how I compare it. That's the way I look at things. Next question is, how did you bring your cat over? I just brought his ass over here. Just put him in the carrier, brought his ass over here. But no, seriously, if you live in America, for me, coming to Albania is, as far as the pet health certificate, it's electronic, so you don't have to really physically have it. This is a little bit faster when the USDA is working the way that they're supposed to. Because we got delayed and we had to rebook our flight because our USDA certificate was not ready. But I just had to set an appointment with my vet that does the USDA certification. So you got to make sure they do the pet health certificate. I set an appointment with my vet. They checked them out, did all the things that needed to be done, sent the information over, got the paperwork when I finally did get it. And I just had to make sure that he was in a carrier, and that was it. Like, there's nobody check the pets. Like, when you get to Albania, nobody checks anything. You just go get your stuff and you leave. That's it. So every country has a different process though. So you have to make sure you're checking based on the country that you're interested in. But if it's Albania, if things don't change, we had our pets that were in cabin with us, and then we had one pet that was in cargo. We got her and we went on about our day. I can go into more detail about the pet situation because I do want to talk about that when it comes to what I went through with the airline Lufthansa. Okay, the last question I have. This is actually a really good question. I had something about this on Facebook recently. Someone asked, do you still have a mailing address in the United States, or did you get a P.O. box? I have a virtual address that is not a P.O. box. So it's just a virtual address. You have to, like, when you sign up for it, you have to do it from the state because you have to get it notarized. It was a virtual notary, so we may have been able to do it here, but we wasn't taking a chance with that. It's about $30 a month, and you get a certain amount of recipients. I'll put that information down below, the company that I use, if you want to check that out. You can go in there and look at all the information and find out which package you want, because they do have different packages. And then they will get your mail, they will open your mail, and they will scan it for you. And if you want it, they will ship it to you. So that's another thing. So if you have a package or whatever that you want shipped, they will ship it to you. I did that one time and it was very, very pricey. So FYI. Now, I don't know if I did it right. So I'm still trying to look into that, research that. But it was a package. It wasn't just like a piece of mail. Yeah, I don't have a P.O. box because the P.O. box, you can't use a P.O. box for your banking and all that stuff like that. But I can get my bank cards to go there. I've already had one go there. That was one of the things in the package. You can, have all your mail go there. You just want to forward your mail to that address. And then any mail that doesn't forward, you just want to give them that address that you get. And you can choose the address as well. So it's kind of a nice service to have. From my understanding, would work perfectly fine for my situation. But right now, since I haven't done anything as far as visas and things like that, I'm not 100% sure if I need to get something else, but I don't think so because it's a mailing address. That's not a P.O. box. But yeah, that's it. I hope that I answered all the questions to the best of my ability. If you have any other questions, definitely leave them down below and I'll answer those. I will be coming in at some point to do more of a deeper dive video about the whole pet situation. And it's more like a cautionary tale. I don't even want to say it's a cautionary tale really because I did everything right. I did everything that I was supposed to do, but things just did not go the way they were supposed to go. But we're here. We made it. We're here. And I will talk about that more. But anyway, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Please like, comment, share, and I will see you in the next one.